Hello everyone. I wasn't expecting to get as many messages about the most recent story post that I put up, so I figured best bet, rather than trying to reply to everyone individually, I just put a video up explaining better about what's happened. There'll be people that have seen that post and won't even know who the person is in the picture on the news article. Firstly, for anyone who doesn't know, the person in the picture is someone that we know within the tattoo industry as Kirk Diggler. His actual name is Kirk Hall, which is publicly available information. If you've been to the article, you'll have seen that. So I'm not going to share any information that I shouldn't be. Anything that I do share is what is publicly available. I'll sort of go over a little bit of, the things stuff I've had to deal with that person. I'm not going to speak on anyone else's behalf either. There are other people that have had encounters with this person as well, and I know that a lot of those encounters might not have been very good either, but I can't legally speak on behalf of anyone else, so that's up to those people if they want to come forward and share that information. That's entirely up to them, and I totally understand at the same time if they didn't want to do that. Basically, as some of you might have seen if you have been on the article, Kirk has been charged with coercive control and harassment and a number of other things. I want to start by saying, for the woman involved, I'm sorry that you've had to go through that. No one point should any person at all have to deal with any of that kind of behaviour. Unfortunately, it's something that it seems to be quite a common occurrence, and it shouldn't be. There's absolutely no excuse for it at all. And people, there were people like Kirk who I think feel like they can get away with doing things like that, especially the way that they go about it. Yeah, it's sad. I'm shocked that it has happened. I think same with any of those kinds of stories that you come across, it is shocking that is happening, and so commonly that is happening. But am I surprised with Kirk? No. From what I understand from reading the article myself, is there were people that gave Kirk essentially a good character reference. For those people, I think deep down in your heart, if you've been close enough to Kirk, at some point you've been subjected to his behaviour. I would have thought. I don't want to make assumptions. I don't know who those people were that gave those character references, but really, I think to have done that and give the reference that has essentially helped him get a lesser sentence because of that. That it is very much clear in that article that is one of the things that let him off lightly with the situation, really. You should be ashamed of yourselves for doing that, because you're only enabling it. You're enabling that kind of behaviour. As much as you're not the one directly have caused that harm, painting a pretty picture of this person who's done something like that, it's not good. You should not be doing that. I've had my dealing with him, and I'll go into a little bit of detail about that. Yeah, where to start? Firstly, a lot of you within the industry especially will know that Kirk had a company called Yayo. Now, I want to make this very clear now. Kirk is in no way, shape or form involved in that company. If you go to Company House, which again is publicly available information, you will see that his name is still on there. The matter of the fact is this company is being handed over to a new owner. And this owner, she's lovely. I want to make that clear. I'm not going to name drop either. If you know who she is, you know, but I'm not going to mention names. And it's same for anyone. There's many people who work within that company, and at the end of the day, they've got families to support and things like that, and they're totally innocent in all of this. I want to make that very, very clear. Please do not go attacking Yayo. I know that it's frustrating to find out about this now after so long of Kirk being the owner of that, but at the end of the day, these people are just innocent people who don't deserve to be targeted. If you do own if you have purchased Yayo products, I'm sorry that you've been putting money in this person's pocket initially, but that is not the case now, and these people don't deserve to have to deal with any of the backlash of his behaviour at the end of the day. So please, it's someone else now. Someone else runs that company. I have actually spoken with this person as well. and they have confirmed that with myself. Again, they're just trying to go about the business, you know. They want to just they're trying to get by. They're running a company and they're doing everything that they can to just keep ticking over. So please don't go targeting them. Leave them be. This is more so now for people to understand why Kirk should not be getting involved in this industry anymore, and for people to be aware of him and what he is about. I worked with Kirk years ago now at a studio in Sheffield. Again, I'm not going to name drop studio names. He had 2 studios. I worked at one of them. And during that time, I can't say it was very pleasant. You know, I think everyone tried to keep their head down and just go about what they were doing. I think for a lot of us working there, we were scared. There's no denying it. Like, being in your early 20s, you're still sort of new to the industry and stuff. You're just trying to get by, you know. You want to get your foot in the door and start working and do it, you know, be a tattoo artist. That's what we were there for. And just kind of had to juggle dealing with him at the same time. And it's unfortunate that everyone was put through different things, really. And those people, there'll be some of those people that will watch this video and they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I also don't blame them for not wanting to come forward. If they choose to come forward and speak about those things, that's entirely up to them, but I can't do that on their behalf. So anyway, during the time of me working there, obviously he opens up the Yayo company and all that stuff, and that seemed to be doing well for itself, and he travelled up and down, you know, different sponsored artists and all this other stuff. But yeah, during that time, it were rocky. It wasn't a nice sort of environment. He didn't make things easy. Even when it come to leaving, there were threats made. I'm not going to go too into detail about that, but again, there were people outside of that studio that afterwards helped me in that scenario. So I appreciate the help from those people for sort of helping me get through that little bit of a situation. A lot of the time myself, while I was working there, you know, I've been told to sign like contracts, things like that. You know, the only contracts you should be signing is when you go and get your own insurance. You don't sign a contract for a studio owner. That's a load of shit. If anyone comes to you offering a contract, tell them to shove it up their arse. It's a non-thing. It's not. You don't have to do that. It's as simple as that. Anyone says it is, they're full of shit. I trained elsewhere. I knew that wasn't a thing within the industry, and I wasn't gonna let someone pull the wool over my eyes. So at no one point was I signing a contract and things like that. I had my phone taken off me, went and sat in his car with my phone looking through personal stuff. You know, that's not acceptable in any regards. You just don't push past certain boundaries. You respect your customers, you respect your colleagues. Kirk wasn't about that. I think he felt like he could push boundaries with people, and he could go to another level with things that he shouldn't have been, things that he was saying to people. And again, I'm not gonna, unfortunately, I can't talk about those things that he'd done to other people, but I had spoken with, you know, some of those people that those things had happened to at the time. It's shocking to witness it firsthand as well, and feel so like you've got almost like you've got no control over that situation. You just have to like, you know, smile and wave kind of thing. I think there's a lot of things that I'd witnessed where it scares you into not saying anything. Unfortunately, I can't elaborate really on those situations. I really, really wish I could, and I wish I could explain to you so much more of what had happened. But yeah, nonetheless, it is what it is, and hopefully now, you know, this is it. I hope this is it for him now, and there is no more Kirk Diggler floating about in tattoo industry. I hope that's done. And my message to you, Kirk, I have no doubt that you're probably going to see this video at some point, and you might be just as shocked to see me pop up on your screen at some point, but just do better, be better. There isn't a place in any industry for that kind of behavior, and you know this. I think you know deep down, you know, like, you're not blind to that, but I think you got into such a habit of pushing boundaries, lines you shouldn't have crossed, and you did it anyway. So take responsibility for what you've done and change, be better, and wherever it is you go next, or whatever venture you take next, don't repeat fucking history. I've not really got much more to say to you. Things that you've done to people, you know and I know what you've done. So yeah. I know, I understand that a lot of these sort of accusations, if you want to call them that, you know, you need proof or evidence to back that up and stuff, but you know, you can take it or leave it. All I'm going to say is I did not appreciate the way that he ran his shop. I did not appreciate the way he treated people, the way he spoke to people. Some of the things that he had said and done were extremely questionable. Unfortunately, that is all I can say on that matter. So the main thing for me doing this video is just to make more people aware, especially having worked somewhat, you know, like closely with this person and knowing what he's like, and the article really only solidifies a lot of that. It's just to make people aware that we cannot let someone like him back into the industry, nor can we continue to let other people that are like this, you know, continue throughout the industry. For artists who have got respect for the craft, for the industry itself, you know, we should be speaking up more about things like this. I think it's important that we start doing that more. You know, we keep saying about, oh, let's make this, you know, the tattoo industry needs to be a safe place. Well, let's make it that. But we can't do that if we don't speak up about people like Kirk. People like this don't deserve a place within the industry, and that's just as simple as that. It's sad that these things happen, and it pisses me off to no end. That's the main thing. I've come here to just make people aware of this person. You know, the article shows what's happened. He is paying the price for that now. Hopefully he learns from this. Do I believe he will? At the moment, no. Personally, I think he's gone on like this for that long that he just thinks he's untouchable. I think a lot of people who are of a similar mindset, narcissistic behaviour, you know, things like that, or controlling behaviour, that they'll continue to think that they can get away with doing that sort of thing. There's making mistakes, and then there's that. It's night and day. You know, it's two different things. And I just think he has a lack of respect for the industry itself. He doesn't care really for the art of it. If he tells you he does, he's lying. I understand that it's hard to come forward and speak up on some of these things, but I think we do need to start speaking up more. It's took a lot for me to do this. I have been sat contemplating, you know, do I do this video? Do I just reply to people on message? You know, I could just reply to people on message, but it's not getting the message out there. It's not making people aware of what he's doing and what he has been up to. I'm sorry that I can't really elaborate more without solid evidence. To a lot of people that'll be shocked to find out this information and won't have had a clue. We literally won't have any idea that this was ever going to be a thing. Yeah, it's crazy that there's so many people who literally, you know, only the past few days we've had Jamie Lewis. These people have managed to worm the way in. They've managed to worm the way into the industry. There's a lot more of us than there are them, or I fucking hope there is. I'd like to think that there is a lot more good people than there is the bad. In the tattoo industry, it does seem a bit bleak, if I'm honest. You know, I've worked across a lot of studios. I've you know, down the grapevine, you hear a lot of stories of other studios and their owners, or this or that. I think it'll always remain that way. I think it's good that we're all kept, you know, we all keep on top of what everyone's sort of doing, but then the trouble is it sort of stays within the industry and it's not being shared with everyone else. And I think that's what's important really in this, is that more people start to know exactly what's going on. It gives people an option or a chance to avoid being placed in a situation like that. Again, I'd like to say I'm surprised, but I'm not. I'm really not with Kirk. I think this has been a long time coming, and I think karma has finally caught up to him. And I really would like to think that he's going to learn from this and, you know, go off and work in a different industry and do better, be better. Don't repeat history. It's proven that it doesn't get you anywhere. It only does end up getting you in a lot of bother. And you know, was it really worth it in the end? Again, to this poor lady, she never deserved that. She shouldn't have gone through any of that. And same for anyone else out there who's dealing with that same sort of stuff. Nobody deserves to be going through that. It's just disturbing to think that there's people that just think that they can just do things like that. It's really, really is sad. I'm sorry that I didn't speak up sooner. I feel like that's, you know, I know I'm not responsible. I wasn't doing what he was doing, but at the same time, you know, we're only enabling it. The longer we don't speak about things, with the Yale company, I know usually like with the Jamie Lewis, he still owned the company, so I can understand people stepping aside, don't want to put money in his pocket and all that sort of thing. With the Yale situation, it's very different. They're just people with families who, you know, the new owner's taking over. That's going to take a bit of time. That process is going to take some time. But they are lovely people, and they're not like Kirk. They're not Kirk. I just don't want to see this affect them. That's the main thing. That's I know that this sort of thing usually comes with a lot of backlash for like anything that he's been attached to, but I don't want to see that. At the end of the day, it is run now by different people, and they don't deserve to be targeted. It's as simple as that. They really don't deserve to be targeted. They've got kids, they've got families themselves, and they need to support, and it's in their best interest to keep this running. I had already been told a while ago that it was being handed over, and I had also seen that there were a video about Kirk stepping aside and stepping away from that business. I won't keep chirping on. You know, if anyone's got any more questions, feel free to message me. I will try and reply to that individually. Whether or not I might have to do voice notes, because typing to so many people, it's gonna take it out. I mean, it's gonna take a few days to get through everyone. But if you've got any further questions afterwards, please feel free to ask. There might be some things that you're going to ask that I might not necessarily be able to give you the answer to, again, for legal reason or whatever it may be, and I'm not willing to speak on behalf of other people as well. So if you've got questions about such and such, I'm not going to answer those questions. That's just as simple as that. I think it, again, is for those people to come forward with their stories if they feel like it. All I'm going to say is, yeah, the duration of time that I worked at that studio, I wasn't in a good place come the end of it. It took a lot for me to come round from that, and then moving onwards, things were still pretty rocky anyway after that, to be fair. So my thoughts on the industry were starting to alter. I were not wanting to partake in conventions and things like that. I felt like no matter what corner you walked into, this was always going to be what it was. And it made things really difficult. It made things depressing, really. Yeah, it was sad. So anyway, any questions, like I say, feel free to message me. I can't guarantee that I'm going to reply to everything that you've got to ask. It might just be a case that I can't or whatnot, but yeah, thanks for your time. But yeah, I'll see you all in a bit. Bye.